Hey everyone, Dan Kaufman, Sport Techies Managing Director here again. This is our next panel on our Venue Tech Day of our Pro Day doubleheader. Thank you very much for being here. This panel is Venue Reopening Strategies, Solving Complex Issues with Smart Technologies and Effective Customer Support. Please welcome to the stage Ruben Garcia from the San Antonio Spurs, Marina Jaramillo from the Charlotte Hornets, and Brian McNeil from Alvarado. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Hi, Dan.
Appreciate it.
Hey, buddy.
So a couple logistics for the audience. Definitely send us your questions and don't wait until the end. So if you got questions, send them in and we'll try to get to them as they come through. And after this is over, our panel is going to do their best to make their way to the speed networking portion of the event environment and interact with some of you folks. So look forward to seeing them there after this. But let's get started. I want to start by turning it over to Brian. Brian, I think the best way to start this is really if you just give a brief intro to the technology that you provide at Alvarado and how your product may have changed as it was pre-pandemic and then during the pandemic and then now looking forward.
Yeah, obviously, our focus is predominantly on the access side, whether you're talking kind of external or, even interior type applications. But, I think it's kind of interesting. And, I know I talked about this kind of during some of the, some of the previous, pro days and those types of things. The overall need hasn't, as far as what the products solve, it's solving a lot of the similar needs, but it's really kind of taking really took a little bit of a different perspective on those needs. Throughout the pandemic. So, things about, just trying to get people in quicker, be able to address all the kind of the mobile ticketing strategies. And, obviously those are all kind of, very predominant kind of in this space. All that was starting to happen really before the pandemic. And then, more at that point was how do we get, when you're looking at trying to get people in faster, it's more about, so that you're not having this big congregations of people standing next to each other. Obviously, you're moving more and more towards like a contactless type of media. I think, really it's been just really kind of a little bit of a different look, as far as how our products solve a lot of these issues.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Brian. I want to ask a question of Ruben and Marina in just a minute. And then I think we'll jump to actually like talking through the customer journey now as it stands. Here we are in November 2021, and we'll go through kind of each stage in the process, including obviously entry. But Ruben, Marina, the question for you is, what are the 2 to 3 most important tech-related changes that you've implemented over the past year? And you don't have to mention Alvarado, although, obviously Brian's here. But Ruben, let me start with you.
Sure. Well, I think if anything, coming out of the pandemic or going into the pandemic, it accelerated our transition to mobile ticketing. So along with that, it also accelerated our transition to loaded ticket value in tickets. So we eliminated a lot of paper, obviously, with paper vouchers, paper tickets, and that went across the board from our suites to our premium products, and also just our, plaza balcony level seating. So with the pedestals, that allowed us to, have a touchless entry point for season ticket holders to get into the building and patrons to get in. And then the loaded ticket, obviously, at the food stands allowed for a quick way for folks to access any value adds that we were.
Thank you, Ruben. Marina?
Yeah, so I think as well, mobile, we have fully gone mobile. And then with that, our box office is now closed for Hornets games, which has been a really good transition for us. We have actually had the most sales on a day in previous years, so it's been really good. And the scanners have really helped with that. So just allowing guests to purchase tickets ahead of time. There's no box office. We've really amped up our resolution. But additionally, with the scanners and having no box office, it's really created a seamless entry for all the guests.
Interesting. Marina, I think you said that you've had the most sales you've ever had on one day as a result of actually closing the physical box offices and converting everything to mobile sales or online sales.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep. So, and how it works is 90 minutes before the game, fees drop down. So the guest is not paying any additional fee. They would pay what they pay at the box office, but they're not having to come to the venue, worry about standing in line at a venue. They buy their tickets and just enter the building that way.
were you expecting to see that result when you kind of shifted away from that, or was it a pleasant surprise?
Yeah, I think it's been a surprise. It was tested last year during the limited capacity season, and it went really flawless. So we just fully transitioned it this year.
Interesting. Very interesting. Great. Well, thank you both. Let's jump to the customer journey. And, I want to go from start to finish. And I think we've got two really interesting folks on the panel here from two different arenas, obviously in multiple arenas. And I think it'd be interesting to hear what's actually happening across the country now in these various locations when it comes to getting fans into a venue effectively, and then getting them to the experience, and then getting them out of the venue. And my goal is to have each of you kind of jump in here and share where you are. And Brian, obviously, with your insight, I want you to come in and share your opinion as well. But first, let's start with arrival. Marina, I know you don't have parking, but Ruben, you do at some of your venues. But let's talk about arrival, whether it's parking technologies that you've implemented, or maybe ride sharing partnerships that you've implemented. Let's start there. And Ruben, I'll start with you. Talk about the arrival experience for the fans.
Yeah, we do have our own surface slots at the arena. So there have been challenges along the way as we've transitioned. We are a cashless venue, so yeah. At the parking lots, it is having to scan a credit card potentially to make a purchase. So there are some timing issues that have come up, but it's been a lot of communication out to buyers. Like, don't forget to add your parking pass, just to speed up that process getting into the building. We have increased sheriffs and that sort of thing, trying to direct people into the right lots and try to get people in as quickly as possible. We do have a Uber area that we kind of started a couple seasons back, and it's kind of grown. So we're still trying to optimize that and find the right way to make it work. But we do have an Uber lot at our building, so that kind of is a great benefit, but also presents some challenges in how you route everything through. But a lot of it has just been communication, making sure everybody has their parking passes to alleviate any congestion at the lots getting in.
Interesting. Thank you, Ruben. Marina, I know you don't have parking. I guess people can park in parking lots unaffiliated with the arena, but talk to me about the strategy that you guys have implemented around there, and talk about ride sharing or other methods of getting fans safely to the venue.
Yeah, I think we rely a lot on the train system too. We're around the train system, so just overly communicating, as Ruben said, just communicating how you get in the building. We created a video of how you enter in the building. You're scanning with the building. If you have a barcode, how you scan. If you've had it loaded to your phone, how you scan. So for us, it's just been overly communicating how you get in the building, especially with all the new protocols that the NBA has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so one other piece I'd add is that we've even had to reach out to like Google Maps, try to make sure that people are getting routed the right way to the right parking lots. Just having to work with those outside people that maybe aren't associated with the ticketing business, but it's an important piece because people use those methods to get in the building.
That's interesting, Ruben. I'd love to ask another question on that. I mean, was that easy to do, to find the right person to talk to at Google Maps and then say like, hey, can you actually change the way the algorithm is working?
Yeah, I know that was something that came up in the last few weeks, so I don't know what kind of progress we've made to it, but we've done a lot of kind of research into that area, and we've added some map capability to our Spurs app to actually show what's the easiest way for you to get to the building. So that's something that we're currently trying to upgrade and make better.
Interesting. Thank you for that, Ruben. All right, let's jump to entry, ingress, all the touch points that are there, whether it's ticketing, security, health screenings, those kind of things. Marina, can I start with you? Can you walk us through like literally what's the first thing that the fan's gonna encounter when they're trying to enter the venue?
Yeah, so for us with the new scanners, it really creates like an open environment. So you enter the building, you go through security. Once you're through security, you kind of enter. We have the scanner set back, so you have more of a lobby area. We've really found that it creates an easier environment for the guests to get into. Once you come through security, you're gathering your bags, finding the guests that you're with. So it's created that area where they can gather everything and then go through the scanners. They'll enter through the scanners. And really, it's been really seamless. I know with people transitioning to the scanners, they're standing, the guests have more control over scanning. It's not an usher standing there scanning their tickets. So it's been really good for us. It's created a really positive experience for the guest and our staff to be able to greet the guests and not be worried about focusing on scanning, and just they really can focus on the guest, and the guest has the capability to scan and isn't a rushed process to get into the building.
Interesting. And are you working with any kind of health vendor to, allow folks to provide that, or is that less relevant for you all right now?
Yeah, so with the NBA, we are working with Clear. So if you're within a certain feet of the court, you do have to we are using Clear. We have found it's the easiest for guests. You download the app, a screen pops up, you load all your information. So the guests come into the venue. If they are within that restriction, they are sent to a resolution. We verify that they have Clear, they're wristbanded, and then sent to where they need to go.
Got it. Okay. Ruben, walk us through your experience with the fans as they arrive and enter the venue.
Yeah, so we have our security checkpoints a little bit further out to allow the screening to come through before they get to the pedestal, basically at the door to get scanned in. So the challenge for us has been to make sure everybody has their tickets pulled up, and is not scrambling once they get to the pedestal to pull up a ticket, because obviously that'll bog down the lines pretty quickly. So we've done our best to try to educate our staff to make sure that they're asking patrons, hey, have your tickets pulled up, have them ready. We also have kind of a know before you go emails that go out and text messages that go out, asking patrons just to be prepared, download tickets to wallets. That way you don't have to depend on Wi-Fi or spotty mobile activity potentially to delay entry. So that's helped. The kind of touchless thing has been good just in the environment that we're currently in, obviously. So that's been helpful. I think for us, we do have a notification on the pedestal for those folks that are in a tested area down by the court. So the Alvarado pedestal has, the notification pop up that, this person needs COVID testing or a vaccination card. So they'll get wristbanded at the door, or they'll get redirected, and we actually do on-site testing for patrons that are in those areas if they don't have vaccination or a test beforehand.
Ruben, can I ask about that? So when the pedestal says, okay, this person needs to be COVID tested or needs to prove that they've been vaccinated, that's for folks per NBA regulations that are within a certain distance from and so is that the same way that you're doing it, Marina, as well? Is it that at that point when they scan in, you'll get a notification that this person needs to be sent off to another area to show vaccination or to take a COVID test?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Here in our arena, they have to wear a certain wristband. I don't know how Ruben has it, but it has to be visible that they've proven verification.
Okay. Is that the same for you, Ruben?
Yeah, we wristband them, and then the ushers are trained in those particular areas. There's kind of a little piece of tape down on the floor for where the row might break between tested and untested potentially. So a lot of training that goes involved. We're depending heavily on some of our part-time staff or seasonal staff to help with that. And then we have some groups that help kind of guide those people to a tested area if it's needed, or to kind of pull them to the side and wristband them at the gate.
Got it. And have you found that fans generally are aware that this is going to happen because they're sitting within a certain distance of the court, or have you found that some fans have been totally surprised by it, and how do you handle those situations?
Yeah, I think every night we probably at least have one person maybe that isn't aware for whatever reason, but we do kind of bombard them with some emails and some texts beforehand leading up to the game to make sure that they're aware of where they're sitting. Obviously, it's easier with season ticket holders. They know where they're at for the entire season. It's just the single game buyers that we might run into those issues with.
Brian, I want to give you a chance to jump in here as well. I mean, you heard from Ruben and Marina, but maybe in thinking about the experience of arrival with any of the other customers that you've worked with, are there any interesting things that have come up that you think is worth sharing to the audience from a learning perspective? Yeah,
and they've already kind of covered it. I mean, it really comes down to communication, whether, and it might even necessarily be between the team organization to like a fan kind of coming in, but even, I know like you were touching even on like the parking side. Yeah. I mean, we're in so many different venues, and a very common theme is that, parking operations does something totally separate than what the stadium has told them to do. So it's establishing those types of lines of communication. It's communication to the staff that might be at these entry points. How are they effectively, as people are coming in, how are they addressing, issues and, resolving them quickly so that, you're not creating this frustration and, it definitely kind of, expedites that entire process. So yeah, I mean that's probably the biggest thing that we've seen. Kind of, the ones that do it really well, things go extremely smoothly, and then others, rightfully so. I mean, like last year, everything was going at lightning speed as far as from deployment perspective. So maybe that planning and okay, what should we be doing in conjunction with this? I think that was somewhat overlooked, and now we're kind of seeing that with like organizations with the Spurs and Hornets and stuff like that, where they are putting all those steps into play.
Interesting. We've got some good questions that are coming through from the audience, so I'm going to pause our customer journey here just for a moment and ask. I guess I'll ask the first question that came through for Marina. It's related to the box office closing. Do you think that might eventually be a permanent thing, where there will be no physical box office where you can buy tickets from?
Yeah, I definitely think it will transition that way. Like I said, we have had very minimal issues. I do not think we can transition that way for concerts. We are open for concerts just because each demographic is different. But I do think for Hornets games, we can definitely get there to staying closed. Like I said, we maybe have one person that has complained about it, but it really creates a seamless process for the guests. So I do think it will transition to being the box office being permanently closed.
Interesting.
I'll add a little bit onto that as well. Our box office has gone to only being open on event days. That would be for Spurs games and concerts and other events. So 3 hours before game time, we'll open up. I think one challenge for our groups and our demographic here in San Antonio is, when you come down to the box office, you weren't paying ticketing fees that you might pay on Ticketmaster.com. So that's been a lot of our feedback has been centered a lot on like, hey, I just want to save on the fees and those sorts of questions. But for the most part, I think it's worked well for us as well. I'm not too sure if we can ever get to a point where we wouldn't have a box office open. But that's something to consider, I guess, down the road.
Yeah, interesting.
And I think to a point for us it's just really transitioned. Like our box office staff, they are all still here. We've just transitioned them from being ticket sellers to ticket ambassadors. So we have different resolution areas open, and really our focus is more on scanners. So we have different stations where they're really focusing on the customer and making sure the mobile tickets, anyone with mobile tickets knows sometimes they just don't load properly. So it's really transitioned that we're more ticket ambassadors and helping people. And overall, I think it's been really good. They're not focused on trying to sell someone a ticket or trying to find a seat. The guests are finding their seat by themselves online. And then once they are entering, that's where we're helping them. And it's really allowed our staff to help give better direction to seats and whatnot. So it's been really successful for us.
Interesting. Thank you both. Another question that's related is from Edmund Otieno. Edmund, thanks for the question. With the transition to digital ticketing, are there any benefits such as discounted merchandise, concessions, or other incentives for fans to utilize touchless transactions? And then he adds, also, did ticket service fees disappear from the ticket transactions? Ruben, Marina, feel free to jump in.
Sure.
I can touch on the service fees, and then I'll let Ruben kind of cover the rest. So any service fee we would charge at the box office, where it's the same as online. So it doesn't necessarily disappear. It's just the same as what you would pay here at the box office. So there's no difference of buying here at the box office or online at Ticketmaster. And that is a different fee. But it's the same for us. We were able to get that.
Got it.
Yeah, for us, the same kind of fee structures exist for mobile ticketing that did for printed tickets. The one thing that we did kind of do away with was obviously a printed ticket fee, which we had started to charge for probably 3 or 4 years. So obviously we lost that revenue from having to print tickets. We also lost a cost associated with having to print out tickets. In terms of benefits, we really don't have any benefits specifically for like, hey, use your mobile tickets, that sort of thing. We do have a Spurs app that we try to push a lot. So there's a lot of interactive kind of features with it that we're hoping folks can stay engaged with, and we want to stay engaged with our fans. that are both, you know, here at the venue and also at home or in other parts of the country or the world.
Thank you both. All right, thanks for the questions, everyone. Keep them coming. We will do our best to get to them. I want to jump back to our customer journey, though, and at this point, take us to movement within the venue, right? I'm now on the concourse. Ruben, Marina, are you using any kind of wayfinding technology? How has that been more important now as we have full venues and we're in a time where we still have, obviously, some concerns about health and safety? Tell us a little bit about that if there's any going on. I'll start with Marina.
Yeah, I think ours mainly is just transitioned to, again, the staff, rather than being at the gates and scanning tickets, they've transitioned to being on the concourse, communicating with guests. I know there's the fear of having this great technology that you're not speaking with the guests or greeting the guests, but we've really transitioned our staff from being at the front gates to being on the concourse and helping guests, just getting around, finding different concessions and things like that.
Interesting. So because the employees, the staff don't have to be there physically, you know, scanning the ticket, the point of interaction is just moved to a different location, but you still can accomplish that human interaction portion? Correct. Yeah. Got it. Interesting. Ruben, go ahead.
We don't really have a wayfinder or any type of, you know, that kind of service. What we do depend on is our app, again, our Spurs app. So obviously there's maps of the building, different food stands that are throughout, you know, what kind of foods you might want to be eating that evening or drinks that you might want to have. So we kind of lean on that in terms of, you know, directing people where to go within the building and how to get to seats in different areas.
Interesting. Brian, I want to jump back a little bit because I mentioned it that if you don't have the staff there physically taking a ticket and greeting someone, you push the staff back to a different location, almost as Marina used the phrase ambassadors, which I love. Brian, talk us through that and all the value proposition in that. But then also at the same time, if you ever get a question from a customer, a potential customer of like, well, look, you know, this is totally taking away the experience I want my fans to have. I want them to feel like they are a family when they come here and they're interacting with us as they enter the facility.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've definitely seen staffing reductions on, you know, once you kind of move towards, you know, a self-service type of solution. And, you know, I mean, even regardless of whether you're talking pedestals like, you know, what they've got at like Hornets and at Spurs, I mean, turnstiles, I mean, you know, it really kind of gets back to the point of we just want to make it easier for fans to get in so that it entices them more to use their own technology to get in. I mean, obviously, I mean, you know, that was, I think, some of the biggest benefits we did see from pandemic is that, you know, you had all these, no matter where they went, everything was more and more contactless and self-service. Hey, you know, check yourself out, buy things through apps, you know, so it's just driven the behavior that I think everybody was kind of striving towards, you know, kind of beforehand. So there was definitely this, you know, this huge, very quick evolution, you know, during that period. And then, you know, I mean, I think at the end of the day, when you know, the staff that you do have, or if the staff aren't showing up like what we see in a lot of venues now, I mean, you know, the people that are existing and the ones that are sitting there, they can be more engaging with, you know, with the guests as they're coming in. And, you know, I mean, again, we always talk about the customer service aspects. I mean, I agree with you. I really like the, you know, the term ambassador, because that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Interesting. Ruben, anything to add on that from your front? We've heard from Marina kind of about that, but I'd be interested to hear more a little bit about how you guys approach sometimes the push and pull between technology and, you know, human interaction.
Yeah, it's been a challenge, and the staffing thing obviously is going on in the industry and other parts of businesses. So we try to be engaged as possible with fans. We have a season ticket headquarters in the building. We have a guest services area in the building. So when it's possible, we do something similar to the ambassadors and having folks, you know, available to direct people to different areas of the building, help with any issues at the gate if possible. So we've definitely tried to do that, as well as when staffing permits, have them outside the building to help people, you know, with any ticketing issues before they actually get into the queue and start going through security. We have an interesting setup at our building where our box offices are actually detached from the building. So they're kind of makes it a challenge sometimes, but if we're able to redirect those people to a conflict window or trouble window before they get into the lines, that's probably a better experience than, you know, getting all the way to the door, some kind of issue not working or happening, and then having them to come back out at our building to get service to get resolved.
Interesting. Thank you, Ruben. All right, let's jump back to our journey here. We're at a point where we're now in the seat, right? And we want food, or we want some other type of item that we can buy. Marina, I'll jump to you. Are you all seeing the adoption of mobile ordering? Is it in-seat ordering and delivery? How has that been? And then also, if I don't want to sit in my seat and I want to walk the concourse and go into a merchandise store, are we actually seeing a scenario where I can do all of that without even interacting with someone? It's just completely touchless, and I scan here and I scan there, and then I'm out. Yeah,
so we've really tried to adapt to mobile ordering, and then you just pick up. We are not at in-seat ordering yet, or in-seat delivery yet, but we do have that you order online, you go pick up. That is with the fan shop as well. And it's gone really well. I think people are really transitioning to that. I truly believe that guests want to come in and kind of have the power. They don't want to be waiting on people. We see it a lot with the scanners. They want to walk in, scan their tickets. They want to go to concessions, get what they want. We're looking at the contactless scanning, or concessions where you just walk in, get what you want. It reads it all and you leave. You're not checking out with someone. So I do believe that that's what the fans want. They don't want to be relying on the staff to do all these things. They want more flexibility and kind of control of things.
Interesting. Ruben, go ahead.
Yeah, we do also offer a lot of similar things. Mobile ordering for food and beverages from your seat. Certain areas you can get them delivered. Other areas you'll have to go, and there's like an express pickup kind of lane, just order and then go pick up. Through our Spurs app, you can place orders as well. We also have what we call Spurs Pay, which is basically just adding a credit card onto your Spurs mobile app. And that allows you to make purchases at a lot of the food stands and at fan shop and those sorts of things. So that's been helpful. I think what's interesting to me is the demographics that embrace the different technologies a little bit better than other demographics. So we have a little bit of a season ticket base that is sometimes a little bit older. So, taking care of those folks the right way and making sure that they're having the best experience possible sometimes can be challenging with all of the mobile stuff. So trying to work through those, but overall, I think it's been really great. A lot of touchless, obviously. We do have one area where you can walk in, pick up what you like, and you get charged for it. You just need to get that set up ahead of time. So a lot of contactless offerings in the building.
Yeah. Pre-pandemic, did you have adoption of kind of these mobile services, or were they even available to your fans? And what was the adoption like? And then how does that compare kind of to now?
I think we were slowly progressing that direction. I think what happened over the last year and a half really forced us just to deep dive into all of those areas. So with the loaded ticket, everything touchless, cashless venue, those sorts of things were accelerated. So a little bit of growing pains here and there as we've fully dove into them. I think it's been great so far.
Interesting. Thank you. There's another question, a follow-up, I think, to this day of box office thing that we've been discussing, which is a popular one with the audience. This is from Justin Huntman from Marina. Without having a day-to-day box office for basketball, how are you directing walk-up patrons to go online while standing in front of a box office?
Yeah, so we have created a lot of signage. There's a QR code that takes you directly to the Hornets page, and then you just purchase off that. So ours is just a lot of signage with QR codes taking you directly to the pages. There's also people outside that help direct, but like I said, for the most part, we've only had one person in all of the games that they've got inside the building without having a ticket. So
great. Thanks for the question, Justin. All right, we are approaching time here, and I want to make sure I get at least one more question in that I have on my list. And this question is going to require you guys to put your prognosticator hats on and kind of predict what you think you'll see in the future. We won't hold you to it, don't worry. But I want to take us to 2022, 2023, and beyond, and think about all the change that's happened over the past 2 years. What in your mind will be the same from a venue technology perspective 2-3 years from now? What might be different and why? And Brian, can I pick on you first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously at least from an access control perspective, at least for, that's the main focus for us is, looking at all the different types of form of media that might be coming through there, and kind of looking at the adoption rates. I mean, you definitely see it, and it might even vary from market to market. I mean, we see that even just here domestically, how different one city can be responding to a certain type of ticket type that might be coming through there as opposed to another. I've said we're doing a lot of the proof of concepts around the facial and some of the different biometrics. It's I think a lot of that's going to come down to a little bit of a legality standpoint, and just who's comfortable with what. Whether that gets to be more widespread or not, I think it's still definitely a TBD to kind of see how the masses would respond to something like that. And I mean, that's happening really across the board for us. Whether we're talking about on stuff in the sports side or even on the traction side. So, yeah, I mean, really more than anything, just kind of being agile, kind of looking at all this stuff. So,
thank you, Brian. Ruben.
I think a lot of stuff that Brian mentioned, obviously, with biometrics, that's to me is the next big, huge thing, along with gaming in arena, potentially, betting, that sort of thing. And I think overall, just like, how do we keep fans engaged? Like, what are we offering to get them into the building besides, the product on the court? Like, what else are we going to offer in the building to draw fans in and get them to buy season tickets? Multiple games, that sort of thing, and keep them coming back.
Thank you, Ruben. All right, Marina, the last word is yours.
Yes, I think too, just like I've mentioned, giving fans the flexibility to come in how they want, kind of full control of being in the building and choosing what they do. It's just something that we're really trying to focus on, and allowing them to get a personalized experience while attending a game.
Thank you very much. To the audience, Ruben and Marina and Brian will do their best to make their way to the speed networking and interact with you. So look for them there shortly if they can make it. Ruben, Marina, Brian, it's been really a pleasure. Thank you very much. A round of applause for you. Have a great day. We really appreciate it. And audience, don't go away. We've got much more in store.
Sounds good. Thanks again.